Hello, my name is Nezumi, and today I'll be showing you how I made my Lara Croft wig from Shadow of the Tomb Raider. First, I started off with 2 cheap wigs. Next, you're going to want to crimp the wig. I find what works best is to hold the crimper kind of diagonally and make sure you overlap it and really crimp all the hair. And then I like to take the crimper and run it back down the hair so it'll get rid of any harsh crimp lines. I'm not doing it here because it's harder to record it, but the more you displace the hair and hold it upwards, the less of a crimp line you'll get. And when you're done, it should look something like this. Next, cut the hair away from the wig, leave about an inch left over. You're going to want to remove any excess hair and then set the strand down aside neatly. Next, you're going to want to apply Uhu glue to the ends of the strands. Then take a silicone brush and really make sure it's saturated and fully covering the ends of the hair. Once it's dry, you can cut off any excess glue, and now you have your first glued weft. And then you can make roughly 1,000,000 more. Next, cover the base of the wig in clear glue. Make sure to fully saturate the hair and brush it downwards and flat with a silicone brush. Next, taking this metal plumber's perforated tape, you can cut it to fit from about the back of the head up to the top of the head, and also a piece from ear to ear. Sand the bottom of it and then cut the edges around it, and you can glue it on with hot glue, and this will create like a skeleton for the wig. For the base of the ponytail, I take 2 pieces of Warbler and create an X shape. Next, take a PVC pole, that's the length you want your ponytail to be, and you can put Warbler on the end of it and stick it down to this X. You can heat shape it to fit the area of the wig where you want the ponytail to sit, and then glue it on. This will create a sturdy base for your ponytail to be attached to later. Next, glue down a layer of quilt batting. Next, you can heat it down with a heat gun or a blow dryer on a high setting. You want to heat it enough so it flattens out, but don't heat it up too much or you'll burn through it. This will help create an even base for us to add the hair onto later. Then you can paint the quilt batting so it matches the hair. Finally, you can start gluing the hair on. I drew out where I wanted the bangs to be later, and first I started with the ponytail part. So gluing the hair in the direction the ponytail will sit, then you can cut the hair to where the ponytail is. Then you can point cut the ends and use thinning shears so it has a softer edge when it goes into the ponytail. Then using more Uhu glue, you'll glue down where you want the hair to lay. Evenly lay the hair down on the glue, and then taking a brush or comb, you can brush it down, making sure all of the hair lays flat. Then take hairspray and fully coat the hair, again using a brush to make sure it's all neat and fully saturated, and then you can use a blow dryer to help speed up the drying process. On the nape of the wig, it seems like she has hair that's just kind of fallen out of the ponytail. So this part was really easy. I just glued the hair down here first, and then later went on to make the ponytail on top of it so it'll cover up the weft edge. Another method I used is just gluing the hair directly onto the wig. So I just took some glue and then laid the hair down gently, leaving about an inch not covered in glue. This will create a soft edge so it doesn't rub against your skin and it looks a bit more natural. I did this around the ears. And just like I showed you before, you'll take the hair, cut the ends down, trim it so that you get rid of any bulkiness, and then you can glue it down, hairspray it, and then use a blow dry to speed up that process. And similar to the method I showed you before, this time on the part of the ponytail that sits on top of that nape hair, I took the hair, cut the edge clean, and this time glued it down to that edge so it had an even parting line. And then you can take the wig off the wig head and you can trim up all that hair around the ears. To trim up that nape hair, I took thinning shears and started chopping away at it to really get rid of all that bulk. I wanted it to look more like hair that fell out of the ponytail rather than a big chunk of hair. Now for the ponytail, I took a few wefts and glued them to fit inside the PVC pole. And then I started taking wefts and gluing it around the PVC pole until I was happy with the thickness. Now you can start styling the ponytail. Off screen, I cut it to the length I needed, and then I started taking thinning shears and thinning out and taking out a lot of bulk of the ponytail. Her ponytail looks super thick, but also the ends are really thin and choppy, so I really just worked around it evenly, trying to cut the hair throughout the entire ponytail. Then you can tease the ponytail and hairspray it down, and this will again add to the volume and puffiness of the ponytail without having pounds and pounds of hair. And once you're happy with how the ponytail looks, you can just give it a final spray of hairspray on the outside. Now for the bangs, you can start taking your wefts and gluing it from the ear up. And again, just using a blow dryer to help speed up the drying process. And just keep working your way up the bangs. To make it a bit easier to cut and to also not waste all the hair, I separated it into little rubber bands and then cut right above that. Now for the hair parting, I took a small weft of loose hair and I coated the ends in hot glue, and then I glued it down onto the parting. This was my first time doing this, so it wasn't perfect, so I ended up doing another method on top, but I still want to show you what I did here. As you can see, the hot glue is really obvious and messy. I did later do this for another wig and it was much better, but this trick definitely takes a lot of practice. So to cover this up, I ended up taking some of my best wefts, cutting the edge so it was super neat and clean, and then gluing that on top. This was a lot of trial and error going into this wig. This is my first ponytail hard helmet wig, so it was a lot to learn, but I am very happy with how it turned out. Now you can start styling the bangs. So my bangs ended up being super thick, so before doing anything else, I went in with my thinning shears again to kind of get rid of that bulk. And then using a steamer, I started steaming the hair down flat so it was a bit more easier to manage. While styling the bangs, I was constantly looking at the reference image, and I tried to pin down the hair exactly as I saw it in the photos. Using little T-pins, you can pin it down while you steam so it'll stay in place. And with each section, I would just cut it and trim it and then pin it down. And as I worked, I took the steamer and steamed the hair into place. When you're happy with your work, you can apply a layer of hairspray. I also applied hairspray directly on my fingers and worked it into the edges of the spikes in smaller little pieces. And again, you can take that small comb and lightly comb through the hair to make sure everything is laying clean and neat. Once it was dried, I took scissors and trimmed up the spikes. And this is how the bangs looked once I was done. Finally, using a scrap piece of fabric, I cut out a strip and applied it to the ponytail as a hairband. This will cover up the seam and the glue. Finally, taking my airbrush, I painted the glue seams on the parting with the same color as the wig. And this is how the wig turned out. Thank you so much for watching. I put all the materials in the description below. Please like and subscribe and follow for more content.